Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you all of the meals I fixed for the week. I have here my beans that I've soaked for about 48 hours. You don't have to soak them that long, but I just wanted to try something different. So I soaked them for 48 hours, put enough water just to cover them. I seasoned with a little smoked turkey. I put 3 of these turkey wings in a bag of the stir fry mix, which is just green peppers, red peppers, yellow peppers, and onions. So I used a little bit of red crushed peppers, not very much, like just a couple of sprinkles. A little of this chicken bouillon, and my favorite, minced garlic. You can see how much I use it. It's almost gone. I just poured all of it in there. It's probably about a tablespoon or so. Um, I also sprinkled in about 2 or 3 tablespoons of salt. These are the beans after they've been done. I cooked them for about 3 hours on a low simmer. Here's the turkey wings that I took out. I took off the skin, diced them back up, and poured it back inside of the soup mix. Not soup mix, but these were just beans that I mixed together and soaked. But this was all that I fixed that day with a cornbread that you see on the main title. Next, I'm going to be doing my husband's meal prep. I have these bag of roasting vegetables, salmon, and pesto. I'm going to be making him a pesto salmon with veggies. We really love this pesto sauce. It's really easy. I mean, it's easy to make your own, but this is really easy. So I have all 3 of my salmon fillets inside my air fryer. I'm going to sprinkle with a little bit of salt and smear my pesto over the top of it. So after I've gotten that spread, I'm going to put it inside my air fryer. I set my air fryer at the 400, and I set the timer, for probably like 8 or 9 minutes. Well, here you can see I did it for 7 minutes. I have my saute pan. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of butter in, and I'm going to pour in my roasting vegetables. I season with just a little bit of salt. The steak seasoning here, like that's all of the seasoning that I needed. It has garlic, crushed pepper, salt, a bunch of other seasonings and spices. My salmon is ready, so I'm going to go ahead and get that in my plates for my husband. And now my vegetables are just about ready, and I add those as well. This is it, and we're also going to make his smoothies. So I have a sliced whole cucumber in here, and a sprig of mint leaves that I already pre-chopped and cleaned and everything, and I have it frozen. So I put in here about 2.5 cups of water, and I'm going to pour in my cucumber and mint. A couple of shakes of my ground ginger. I ended up adding in about a teaspoon because it doesn't come out of those little slots too well. I add in about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and about 3 tablespoons of this apple cider vinegar with the mother in it after a good shake. And a couple of drizzles of this honey. So I'll give this a good blend until it's nice and smooth. What I like to do is pause in between blending to let it settle a little bit so that the chunks and everything that kind of float up to the top kind of sink down to the bottom. And I have some extra time to be able to blend all of those so it comes out smooth instead of chunky. No one wants a chunky smoothie. But I pour this in jars for him once it's all done, and I just set it in the refrigerator, and he usually just drinks them when he gets home from work, just one a day. Yes, I do recycle my jars. I buy them and then I recycle them. Next, I'm going to be doing my version of a simple jerk chicken. I have my jerk seasoning, my red peas with seasoned coconut milk, my instant rice. I have a pack of chicken thighs and green beans because I really did not feel like going through with the cabbage. Here's my chicken after it's already been cleaned and the fat's been taken off. I'm going to add my jerk seasoning. I just added a couple of dollops all throughout it and a drizzle of olive oil and a little bit of salt. I'm going to put on the glove and get this all mixed in because this is going to be kind of spicy and I don't want to have it on my naked hand because I do have little ones. They usually get stuff in their eyes or something like that. So, of course I wash my hands, but there's always some sort of spice residue left behind. But this is all massaged in. I open the chicken up and spread it around on the inside of the chicken meat and roll them back up. I did use boneless, skinless chicken thighs, just because that's what my family likes. I know a Jamaican or an Islander would be chopping my head off, but this works well for my family. It's done in less than 40 minutes, and my family likes it, so that's dinner. So this is what that looks like when it's done. I set it in the oven on 375 for about 35 minutes. I have my saucepan here in the back. I'm going to get my rice started. So I have in here about a cup of water. I'm going to add in my entire can of red peas with seasoned coconut milk. No, it does not look appetizing. Yes, it is good as hell. You fix whatever you want to fix in your kitchen. This is what I said before my family likes. I also add a couple of teaspoons of the chicken drippings into the rice just for extra flavor. Again, it's my kitchen. This is what my family likes. And then I add in about 2 cups of this instant white rice. This is something else that makes it a really fast dinner. After I add my rice, I give it a nice little stir. And this just needs just a sprinkle of salt because the coconut milk is kind of sweet naturally. Doesn't have much salt in it, so I just add a little bit of salt. And then I fix some steamed green beans. With this, we eat a lot of green beans and broccoli and Brussels sprouts. With my green beans, I just put a little bit of butter in my pan, set on medium. I pour it in my bag of frozen green beans, and they are pretty much done. Just need to be warmed and seasoned. But that was dinner, and as you can see in the picture that was posted on the thumbnail. Next, I'm going to be getting started on my meatloaf. I'm sorry, still on my same one. Oh well, these are my green beans. Like I said, I just use a little bit of salt to season them. They're done. Next, I'm going to be starting on my meatloaf. I have about 2 pounds of ground beef, my onion soup mix. I'm going to pour in some of these diced onions. My kids like cooked onions, and these diced green bell peppers, and a couple of shakes of Worcestershire sauce. A little bit of salt to season it. I get that all mixed in. I'm going to add in about 2.5 handfuls of oats. This is a good way to sneak in extra fiber. So I add in those 2.5 handfuls of oats and about 2 eggs. I get a glove on and I get that mixed in. You don't want to over mix it. You don't want like funky textured meatloaf. My family likes meatloaf, so I fix this quite a lot. My loaf is ready. I like to shape it in the bowl before I put it in the pan. makes for an easier transfer. Next, I'm going to get started on my glaze. I have about 3 tablespoons of ketchup inside my little bowl here. I'm going to put about a tablespoon or so of olive oil and a couple of shakes of Worcestershire sauce. And then I'm going to get that mixed in really well together and just paint that over my meatloaf. I'm not using this a second time, so it goes all over the meatloaf. I preheat my oven to 375 and I set it on a timer to 35 minutes. I ended up cooking this for probably about 40 minutes. Here are my green beans that I fixed with it. Just a couple of pieces of butter, a little bit of salt. And I just cooked those until it was done. I added a little bit of crushed pepper and also a little sprinkle of chicken bouillon just to get a little extra flavor in the green beans. I think I used probably about a teaspoon. But they came out really, really tasty. But I just cooked those until the green beans were nice and tender. And I fixed rice with this. I usually fix potatoes when I do meatloaf, but it's summertime and it's hot, and rice is easier, so I just made a simple butter rice, and I also made a little quick gravy. I cannot make instant gravy to save my life, so I really had to make a homemade gravy. But that was that dinner. Here's my meatloaf after it's come out of the oven. Next, I'm going to be making a quiche. So I'm going to be using the remaining onions and peppers. This entire bag of Kobe Monterey Jack cheese, whole milk. I love whole milk for quiches. I love the texture it gives it. These hash brown potatoes, diced ham, 2 of these deep dish pie crust, and an entire 12 count of egg. I like to pre-cook my pastry crust because I've had a couple of experiences where the crust comes out kind of soggy because of the eggs, and it's not really good. But as I said before, I'm going to use 12 eggs. I did previously use 2 eggs from this container. I had more eggs in my refrigerator, so I just cracked an additional 2 eggs to that. I did season with a little bit of salt, probably about a tablespoon of salt. Didn't want it to be too salty. That's another tip. If you get an eggshell in your eggs, it's easier to remove that shell with the actual eggshell as opposed to trying to dig it out with your fingers or a spoon or something like that. Next, I'm going to pour in, these are my extra eggs, but next I'm going to pour in about a cup and 3/4 of heavy cream, and then I'll get that all whisked in together. Shout out to my big girl for being my camera person.
I can feel your heart racing, 'cause everybody knows, yeah, everybody knows. And I can feel your body shaking every single touch. And that's just how it goes. That's just how it goes.
So here are my pie crusts that are just about done. I'm going to sprinkle in all of my ingredients. I like to use the fresh raw onions and peppers when I'm doing anything of this sort. Like you saw, I added it to my meatloaf, and I'm adding it into my quiche that I'm making here, a potato and ham quiche. But I like to add it in. I feel that it gives it more flavor, and then everything gets tender, and I'm not, it's not getting all watered down. But I add the remaining onion and pepper and evenly split it between the two. I also add in my ham. Everything that I had was just things that I had already in my deep freezer that I didn't use all of the last time I used it. But I evenly split that up between both of the pie crust. So next I'm going to sprinkle in my ham. I have pretty much about a half a cup of ham for each quiche, which is just the perfect amount, I would assume. But I have a half ounce for each one. A half a cup for each one. I'm going to take my egg mixture and I'm going to add 2 cups of it into both of my pie shells. After I add my hash browns, I added probably about a half a cup of the hash browns into both of the pie crusts as well. And then, like I said, I'm going to add in about 2 cups of the egg mixture into both. These are really easy to follow recipes if you just simply follow the video. I'm not really going to post everything down below because they were easy to follow. But yeah, this is what I did. So I added in, I evenly split up my shredded cheese between both of the pies. And I have the oven preheated for 375. So with my cheese, I added it to the inside of the mix and I sprinkled it on top as well.
I can feel your heart racing, 'cause everybody knows, yeah, everybody knows. And I can feel your body shaking every single touch. And that's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. Oh, I find it so hard being addicted to your love. I find it so hard being addicted to your touch. I find it so hard knowing that you are just my drug. And I find it so hard knowing about it, I already know. Cause every time we talk about it, you stare at the floor.